All right, it looks like we are live. We're going to give it just a few seconds for everything to get out to some of the different channels we're going on. We're on Freedom Boat Club Nashville, Facebook, and YouTube channel. So, for those of you that don't have Facebook, you can hop on the YouTube. And I think we're live on my page too, as well as Freedom Book Club Knoxville. So we've got East Tennessee folks watching, even though we're going to be mostly talking about Percy, Priest, and Old Hickory. This information really translates to a lot of bodies of water. I fish all over the Southeast, and I use these Navionics settings on pretty much every lake that I fish, so even down in Florida. Hopefully you guys will get a lot of value out of this training tonight. We have a few people on, so it's good. We'll wait for just a few more to hop on before we really dive into it. But yeah, I just hope you guys find some value. Current members, this is going to be a lot of refresher for you guys. But also, we're going to go into some a little bit deeper dive stuff that we didn't really do in our original training. So stay tuned for that. And for people that are just the public watching, we really hope that this helps you this season to be out there boat a little more confidently and a little more safe. So go ahead. Looks like we've got a good audience already. So let's get started. Just introduce myself. My name is Captain Angie Scott. I've been with Freedom Boat Club since 2020 and started off as a training captain. And now I'm excited to get new members on board and still do some trainings here and there. But this guy over here is our main trainer, Captain Gary.
Yes, ma'am.
So Gary Reddick here, not only our full-time training captain, but he's also the coach of the Mount Juliet High School fishing team. So that's exciting.
Always.
Yeah.
When it comes to fishing out.
Well, thanks for coming on board tonight, Gary, helping me with this. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the topics we're going to cover, and then we're just going to jump right into it. And by the way, this is being recorded. I'll probably mention that a few times throughout this training tonight. So if you're not able to keep up or you want to go back and reference it, never fear, you'll be able to do that. The beauty of watching this live is we are going to be able to see your comments and questions. So if you have any questions throughout, we'll be pausing occasionally and going through those and hopefully answering all your questions. But don't panic if you can't keep up because you'll be able to go back and reference this later. So, but we're going to start off with just showing you how to download and find and download the Navionics app. And then we're going to go through our preferred settings that we found to be super helpful to avoid those shallow areas that we have on our lakes here. Percy Priest, as many of you know, can be very shallow and rocky in areas. Old Hickory also can be very shallow, not as rocky, but lots of tree stumps and stuff like that. So we're gonna show you how to avoid those areas and keep your boats and props and lower units safe. And then we're going to get into some other tips and things that we've learned since we initially did our training that are going to help you. And we're going to show you how to route from point A to point B and adjust your settings so that it's going to take you on the safest route. And then we're going to talk a little bit about anchoring because we had a question come in before tonight asking about that. So we'll cover a little bit on that. And then part two, we're going to start honing in on some of those specific trouble areas that we're aware of on Percy, Priest, and Old Hickory lakes. We're going to go show you some Google Earth maps when the lake was really low so you can see what we're talking about when the water's low. And that's stuff that you can't see when it's at summer pool that's just hidden below the surface. So that's how we're going to do it tonight. Again, we'll be checking your comments and questions throughout. And before we jump in, just want to give a quick shout out to the Nashville Boating Center. That's where we're at tonight. So thanks to them for co-hosting and letting us use their facilities to get some good Wi-Fi and a nice area to do this. I did want to mention if you guys want further boating instruction, They do offer classes every month. It's the second Saturday right here at the Nashville Boating Center. It's taught by the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. And pull up their number here if you guys want to give them a call to get signed up for one of those classes. The next one's going to be Saturday, June 10th. There's going to be another one, the next one, July 8th. So if you're available, you're interested in expanding your boating safety knowledge, give them a call. Go to the website, NashvilleBoatingCenter.com, and check it out. So, all right, we're going to jump into it here. I'm going to share my phone screen and show you how to find the Navionics app, the one that we're showing you tonight. So I'm in the App Store. I have an Apple device. Android users, I'm sure you know where to go to your Google Play Store. Gary's an Android user, so we got one of each here tonight. If you guys have any questions between the two of us, we should be able to answer that for you. But the first thing you want to do is go to your App Store and search for Navionics. And that is spelled Navionics. And when you hit search, it should be probably the second one down. You'll see Navionics Boating, Nautical, and Fishing Charts. Mine, of course, says open because I already have it. But if you don't already have it, it's going to say get, and it will say in-app purchases. They did recently go up on that. It's just an annual subscription for the advanced features, but they do give you a 14-day free trial. So you will want to set up an account. Mine's already set up, so when I hit open, it's just going to go. This is kind of a sneak peek of what our settings look like. But you'll want to set up an account, and you'll want to eventually subscribe if you're not already to that $24.99 annual subscription. Well worth the money.
Very well worth the money.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for myself, and I know all of our members as well that use it. So huge game changer. So well worth the $24.99 is what it is now. So that's how you find the Navionics app. Again, like I mentioned, if you're not able to get all this set up during this training tonight, don't worry. This is recorded. You can always go back. But please follow along, so that way if you do have any questions, you can ask them and we can answer them for you. The other app you want to go ahead and download is the TVA Lake Info app. So if you just type in TVA Lake Info, and that looks like that there, TVA logo, and it will say get. That one is free, so nothing to pay for that, but we're going to be referencing that throughout this training tonight as well. So those are a couple apps that you might want to go ahead and download if you don't already have them. And then we're going to get into the video that I recorded. This was actually recorded a couple of years ago, and everything's pretty much still the same in Navionics. There's only been a couple very minor changes, additions to different sonar map options. But if you follow along with what I'm going to show you in this video, you'll be good to go and all set up with the settings that we prefer. We are still live, so feel free even during the video. If you guys have questions, please comment on Facebook or YouTube. They should pop up in our feed here. And we may or may not be able to see your name, depending on if you've allowed StreamYard access to view your name. So if not, we'll just see somebody at, Facebook user, YouTube subscriber ask a question. We'll still get your question. We just might not know who you are. But all right, without further ado, we're going to get into this video. And I may pause it or something if we have any burning questions that pop up. But let's get started on that. And
Navionics boating app. This is probably the most important part of this entire training. This is going to be the most helpful for you, and we're going to go over some reasons why. but definitely make sure you go through this section thoroughly and you understand how to set up your map, and we'll want to make sure that you're actually using it when you're out on the water. It's only as good as much as you use it, so if you don't use it, it's not going to do you any good, basically. So if you need to pause this at any time, feel free to do that. If you have any questions or anything's confusing, please reach out to me, Captain Angie, angie.scott@freedomboatclub.com at any time, and let me know. So we'll get into it. So you've already created your account at this point, and we're just in our main Navionics map screen. So the first thing you're going to want to do at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see Route, Start, and Menu. So go ahead and click on Menu. And then that opens up this bar over here, and you're going to want to scroll down until you see Settings, which is the third one up from the bottom. And we're going to adjust a couple settings before we go in and start setting up your map here. So first thing you're going to want to do is go into Units at the very top. And then you're going to want to adjust these units of measurement to whatever your preferences are. So even though I'm a licensed captain, I'd still prefer to see miles over nautical miles. So I just go through and select pretty much your standard American units of measurement because that's what I'm used to. So once you get all those set, you'll go back into Settings. When auto lock for Apple devices, or it'll say screen on if you have an Android device, is toggled on, the screen will not automatically lock when you're tracking. If off, it will lock according to your device settings. You also have the option to set auto lock in your device settings from 1 to 5 minutes or never with your iOS device, which will affect the entire device. Note, changing your auto lock settings may affect battery life. So one solution is just to get in the habit of going into your device display settings before you go out boating and set it to never. Then when you return, go back in and adjust it back to your normal preference. Play around with this and see how your device responds before you come out for your on-the-water orientation, so you know what you need to do to make sure that your screen stays on while you're actually using the Navionics app. So once we've got that, we can go back to Menu, and we want to go into Advanced Map Options. There's actually a couple different ways you can get into Advanced Map Options. So you'll see Map Options here, right here in Menu. It looks like two squares on top of each other. So you can click on that to get into Advanced Map Options, or you can actually access it from your main map screen. So you can see these three buttons in the lower left-hand corner. So the top one looks like a pin. That's what you would use to mark certain waypoints. If you wanted to save a cove, a favorite cove or something like that, you can name it whatever you want, and that way you can find it later. But the second one down with the two squares on top of each other, again, that's your advanced map options. Then the bottom button is important to know. That's going to center on your particular location, and it will follow you. It will change your course, north up or heads up or course up. So you have those options. So every time you tap it, it will change, just whatever your preference is. You may periodically have to look down if you notice your map isn't following you. You may have to tap that again. Something may have happened to cause that to stop. So that's an important button to be familiar with. But for now, we're going to go into that advanced map options screen. And at the very top, the first thing you want to do is make sure that sonar chart is highlighted. That pop-up just came up. So you actually have to zoom in on your map. You can use your two fingers to zoom in, or you can use the plus and minus buttons over here on the upper right to zoom in and out. But you actually have to zoom in to enable that sonar chart. The next section down is overlays, and that's really your preference. I like the satellite overlay just because I like to be able to see the trees and stuff. It probably uses a little bit more data than if you just had the terrain overlay or even no overlay, but I like the satellite overlay. I've got plenty of storage on my phone, so I'm not too worried about that. The only one I don't recommend using is the sonar chart shading option. That's not going to allow you to color code the map the way that we're going to walk through setting it up. So it's not going to be as useful for you if you had that option selected. So I'm just going to go back to satellite. And then as you scroll down, you see that orientation. I don't really worry about messing with that here. Download maps, I highly recommend selecting your area and downloading the map to your phone. That way, if you're ever offline, you still have access to your map. It'll ask you to update them periodically. No big deal. Easy view, I like to have that toggled on because it's going to make those channel markers and other markers on the map really stand out and easier to see. You don't have to worry about AIS settings. Sonar chart live should be toggled on, and you want to make sure you've got water level correction toggled on. So if you remember, we talked about these are reservoirs, and so the elevation will increase or decrease throughout the year, just depending on, if they're draining the lake, if we've had a lot of rain and flooding and stuff like that. So you just want to check that periodically. So as of right now, with no water level correction, so that's where we're at right now, 0 feet, meaning we've not had to make an adjustment up or down. Navionics is showing you the summer or full pool elevation for whatever that particular body of water is. So we typically hover around summer pool, so you don't have to make too much adjustments in the summertime. It's going to be pretty close unless we do have something going on like a drought or flooding, and then you might want to need to go in and check. But just as we get further into the year, they'll start drawing down the lake, and it's really going to be important to make sure you're making those adjustments so your map's actually going to be showing you the current conditions. So there's another app you can download called TVA Lake Info, and I had already had it in Percy Priest, but when you pull that up, you'll see all the nearby lakes, and you can select whichever one you're wanting to look at. So I'm going to go into Percy Priest just for an example. So a number you might want to remember for Percy Priest is 490. That is Percy Priest's summer pool or full pool elevation. Old Hickory is 445. So if you're going to be out on Old Hickory, that's a number you might want to jot down. And then Center Hill is 648. So those are our 3 areas of operation. Those are the 3 numbers you want to remember. And what you want to look at in this TVA Lake Info app is the date. So today, the day I'm recording this is actually June 10th. At 5 a.m. was the last reading. And the reservoir elevation, that's the number you want to look at, is 490.80. So we're almost a foot above summer pool right now. So in this case, I'm not going to worry about making any adjustments in my Navionics app because it's already showing me pretty close to what the current conditions are. And I always want to err on the side of caution anyway. So if we're above summer pool, that's gonna be erring on the side of caution to not make an adjustment that direction. But if we were like 10 feet above summer pool, I'd probably go in and make that adjustment in my Navionics. In which case, so if it was reading 500, then I would go ahead and go plus 10. That way I just have the most accurate picture of what the actual current conditions are. So that's going to adjust my map. You can use this slider. It's a little bit finicky to work with, so I like to just manually enter it in. So where this is really going to be helpful for you is if we're below summer pool. So for instance, if I went in that TVA Lake Info app, and remember Percy Priest is 490 at summer pool. If I went in and let's just say, for example, to make it easy, it said 480. That would mean we're 10 feet below summer pool. I would definitely want to make that adjustment to adjust my map to the current conditions. So I would do -10, and then that's automatically gonna adjust my map to the current conditions. So you can see there's a lot more shallow areas, and that's gonna pop out even more when we start setting up the depth ranges, and I'm gonna walk you through that as well. So let's say for another example, you went into TVA Lake Info and it said that Percy Priest was at 488.5. So that would mean we're down 1.5 feet from summer pool. Since I mentioned I always want to err on the side of caution and Navionics doesn't let you adjust by 0.5 feet, I would just go ahead and go to -2. And that way, like I said, I'm erring on the side of caution. My map automatically updates to the current conditions. If you have any questions about this is where some people get confused. Just reach out to me. I want to make sure you understand so that you'll always have the correct info on your map. All right, so we're still in advanced map options, and we've adjusted our water level to whatever the current conditions are. So in this case, I'm just going to leave it at -2 just for sake of example. And as I scroll down, you'll see this fishing ranges section. real quick, if you do have depth shading, sometimes by default Navionics will have this depth shading on. You can just go ahead and turn that off. It's not going to matter the way that we're going to be color coding the map. So if you just don't want that interference on there, go ahead and turn that all the way down to 0. So where you're going to color code your map here is in this fishing ranges section. You see these different colored bars. So toggle that on, and then that's going to allow you to start setting that up. So the first thing you want to do, you've already got a range set up here. Color selected is red. I like to start off with red. I name it danger. And then you want to set that range. I like to set it to 0 to 5 feet. I don't want a boat in anything less than 5 feet of water. So again, this slider is a little bit finicky to work with, so I'd prefer to just manually enter in my depth. So I'm going to enter in, it's already set at 0, minimum, maximum 5 feet. And now you can see that color show up on my map, so it's showing me all the areas that are between 0 to 5 feet, and those are the areas I'm going to avoid, and it makes it really, really easy to see. So the next one, you click on add range again, and that locks in your previous one that you just set up. So the next section, so you can call it caution or warning, and I just selected that orange color. Oops, caution. All right, and so that range, I want to set it between 5 to 10 feet. So one trick, you want to start by putting in the max number first, because sometimes I've noticed it will zero out the minimum number. So that's just something to keep in mind. It might be some kind of glitch. So again, 5 to 10 feet, caution. I want to use extreme caution if I end up in an area like that, especially like on Old Hickory or Percy Priest. The depth can change to that shallow zone very, very quickly. I mean, you can even see these little pockets here. So I want to also try to avoid the orange colored areas on my map. All right, so then we've got 2 more ranges we're going to set up here. So click add range one more time. And then I like to do that teal color, the greenish teal color. And I'm just going to call that safe skiing or safe water sports, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to set that range from 10 to 30 feet. So we start with 30 first, then we go to 10. Anything deeper than that should be safe as well, but I just like to have one more layer that's going to show me the really deep areas. And that becomes really helpful, especially on Old Hickory, because it has that deep 65 feet on average channel. It's going to pop up as purple on my map and make it really easy to see exactly where the channel is.
Gonna pause right here real quick. We had a question come in from Timothy Duncan, watching on YouTube. Some of you guys might have be running into this issue as well, but if you can't get your fishing ranges section to turn on to where you can do these settings, you probably need to subscribe to the advanced features. So if you don't have that, it's probably not going to let you, because this is part of that $24.99 subscription, annual subscription. So that would be my guess. If it's not letting you do that, that's probably why. All right, hop back into the video here.
So you click add range one final time, and then click on that dark blue or purplish color, and I just call this deep. And so Navionics lets you go the whole way to 300 feet, so I just go ahead and do that. Percy Priest, the deepest it gets is 100 feet, but if you go to Center Hill, it's 260 feet at the deepest point, so I just go ahead and go all the way to 300, and then I don't have to worry about it. So 30 to 300, and there you go. So I want to make sure all those saved, and it looks like they did, so we're good. Nothing more to do there. So now you got this nice pretty map, color coded, makes it really easy to see. And so we can go ahead and close out of that. But before we do, I'm actually going to show you one more thing. Community edits should be toggled on already. I like to leave that on because as you close out of that, now you can see on your map different areas where people have marked, like in this instance, you see this green circle with a plus symbol on it. As you hover your cursor over that, it'll bring up some additional information. So that's a brush pile. Somebody sunk a brush pile there. Good fish attractor for like crappie and things like that. You'll see stuff like that, but then you'll also see where people have gone in and marked danger areas that maybe they've hit bottom before. So one thing before we move out of this area, so I'm actually sitting at Four Corners Marina as I'm recording this. So this arrow here is my current location. It's where my houseboat is located, actually. That's why I added this little house symbol here if I were to ever get lost, which I don't think is ever going to happen. But so as you're coming out of Four Corners Marina, you'll see this Drummond Island and a cove back in here. You can see how shallow it is off of Drummond Island, so make sure you don't go in too closely. This winter, the lake was low as it's been in 20 years, and I was able to see all these rocks and things that you can't normally see because they're just underwater. But you get a clear view of Hops and Pike Bridge right here with this yellow line going across the screen. And coming out of Four Corners Marina, it kind of looks like you can just go a straight shot out of the marina and under the bridge. But you can see this shallow area right in here, all this orange. And that's a very dangerous area. They do have hazard markers. People will fly through there all the time. Either they know the exact safe path to go in the draft of their particular boat, that they're confident they're not going to hit bottom, or they don't, and they do wreck props. Lots and lots of people have wrecked lower units, props, skags, all that kind of stuff in that area. So you want to just go the safe route and follow the channel around Pear Island to get under the Hops and Pike Bridge. So that's just one thing I like to point out. And I point that out when I do any kind of on-the-water trainings out here with somebody who's not familiar with Percy Priest. So as you go all the way to the other end of the lake, you're going to see the dam. So that's where the lake ends there at Bell Road. And then you've got Nashville Shores Marina up at the other end here. And as you scroll to Nashville Shores Marina a little bit, you're going to see this orange area that's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Several people have made community edits about it being a good fishing spot. A bunch of people have marked rocks. So if I can get my cursor back up, hover over that and you see it says rocks, hit the question mark button, then you can get a little more detail. So they're saying those are always underwater. So that can be a really, really dangerous area. It looks like it's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. They do have hazard markers around it, but they're really spread out, so a lot of people miss them. So just an example, just on May 6th, 2020, where we were at Summer Pool, somebody went up over that hump and got a foot gash in a 21-foot epic wake boat. The boat unfortunately sunk. They had to send out a recovery team to get that boat up out of the water. So if they had their Navionics app up, they hopefully would have been able to see that spot, and it would have avoided this unfortunate and probably very expensive situation. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Everybody was able to get over to shore, and they sent that recovery team out the following night. So if they were using their map, like I said, really easy. If they had it color-coded, you can easily see that danger area. So having this app is really going to help you learn these area lakes. So you can see you even have the names of the islands. A lot of the coves are marked, the marinas, Elm Hill Marinas in here. It will tell you if the marina has fuel or not. It'll tell you the distance as the crow flies. So if you want to gauge how many miles away it is. You can search for waypoints by clicking on the search button up at the top left corner, typing in whatever it is you want to look for. So if I wanted to find Four Corners Marina, you just type that in, Four Corners Yacht Club. I can even call them if I wanted to ask if their restaurant was open or something like that. So just close out of the keyboard here. All right, so now you can click on this little blue button here. You'll have some options. You can boat to it. You can set a waypoint there. You can pull up the current weather. It doesn't appear as though they have a radar app built into this, so you might want to have a separate radar app for checking the weather, but this can be helpful. It tells you the wind, speed, and direction at different times. So lots of different features. I recommend playing around with the app, getting familiar with it, and you can even record your route. So as you're going down the lake, if you want to track your route and record it and save it, you can follow it back. If you want to just take the same route back, so lots of awesome features with the Navionics app. I don't go through every single one here, but just like to get everybody familiar with it. Make sure you're using it. Can't stress that enough. Thanks.
All right, I know that went pretty quick. So, again, I just want to stress this is being recorded. You can go back and reference it. Um, Tim, hopefully you got that glitch worked out. And John, yeah, that's weird that it's only letting you go to 6 feet, but I guess that's okay. You're erring on the side of caution with that extra foot there, anyway. So, um, again, if you guys have any questions, just go ahead and type it in the comments. Hopefully, it will pop up here on our feed on the StreamYard platform that we're using. But a couple things we want to show you before we shift onto our next section. Captain Gary here, he's come up with a couple little tricks that have helped as he's been doing some of our new member trainings on Navionics. So he's going to show us that. So let me share my phone here so you guys can see the app. All right. Turn it that way.
There we go. So what I like to do is help out. So the first thing I like to do is go into menu. So if you go back to your menu down at the three buttons at the bottom, click on your menu. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you your name, which this is Angie's phone. So her name pops up. So we're just going to tap on her name. Now we're going to go down right below her name where it says boat and power. So what we're going to do is click on that. Now it's going to give you length, beam, draft. The most important is the draft. If you're wanting to keep your boat so you can use the routes to get there safely and everything and keep you in safe water, we highly recommend you put it to 10 feet because that's where we set the our code where we want to run, where we want to be in safe water. So if you set that, because it's usually not highlighted, you'll set that to 10 feet. The beam, it doesn't really matter, but I usually put 6 or 4 or anything like that. And then our average boat here in the club is about 23 feet. So I just put those numbers in. So what that allows me to do now is when I go back and then I come all the way back out of this and go back now, if you go back to them 3 buttons at the bottom, whoops, I've turned your phone upside down. Now you can hit your route. And what's going to happen is it's going to pop up the 3 buttons at the bottom again. So now you got automatic, manual, and my archived route. I like to just hit the automatic because it's going to give us this little screen here that just popped up. You can choose your location. I'm currently at the boat center, so we're going to actually go in here and type in 4 corners. So type in 4 corners here, or actually it's already right there at the top. So we're just going to click on 4 corners. That will be our starting point. A very popular place to go on Percy Priest is Party Cove. With Party Cove, that's going to take us around in between Mousetail and Drummond Island and Pear Island, and then underneath the bridge and all the way out there. So as we travel, we want to make sure we're safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in Party Cove. We're going to go back over here and type in Party Cove again. Party. There's Party Cove. Now we click on it. Now you see your little purple line. That basically, when we hit go, that's going to take you to Party Cove. Well, right now you're not seeing our color code shade, but it will pop up as soon as we hit go. Your color codes will be back. Since we are actually in Nashville or Old Hickory area, we're not there. So the line will actually take off as soon as I hit that go. And it's going to take you on your safe route all the way to Party Cove. And as you zoom in, you'll see it's going to keep you in that 10-foot range. That's why we want that draft kept at 10 feet, because now it's going to keep you in that 10 feet zone. So I'm going to hit this and you're going to watch it take off, and it's going to start taking off across your screen here in a second. There's your safe route, and it should start. Maybe if I zoom back in.
I think it's hit start, maybe.
And then hit start.
Yep. There we go.
Well, it's not doing it this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, last time we did it, it took us to Party Cove in record speed.
Yeah, you would think we was in record speed, but either way, it's not doing it right this second for us. But what will happen is as it moves to certain points in this route with you, it's going to start turning this black behind every pinpoint you've traveled all the way safely. And as you can see, it's nice and safe all the way in the channel where we talk about going around Pear Island. It's going to keep you safe all the way to Party Cove. And this allows you to use your route safely to get you to a location in safe depths of water. Oops, sorry, hit the weather button. But that's going to keep you safe all the way there. And then once you're there, you just hit the route button again and just hit stop, because now you've arrived at your location, and you can do that in reverse to get back safely. This will allow you to stay in safe waters, avoid the hazards, anything like that you may come across. But at least this will allow you to not go across a shallow area, because it'll take the shortest route. This way it keeps you in depth with water.
All right, so let me stop sharing for just a second. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything. Will an alarm sound if you go into a danger zone?
No, it will not. Not on this. Now, if it was on maybe the boat itself, it may, but this will not.
Somebody said the app is mandatory to use as a member. It's not technically mandatory. I could not recommend it more than I do. I mean, it's gonna save you. I mean, we're not gonna be on the boat with you making sure you're using the app, but you're going to be doing yourself a disservice if you're
not using it, for sure.
All right, so let's hop in, cover a couple more things here before we hop into the next section. I'm going to share my screen again. Because we ended up in Party Cove, we're just going to cover that here real quick. That I mentioned earlier that somebody had asked about anchoring, and since we're in Party Cove, that's kind of a good place to cover. So Party Cove, as you can see, is a pretty narrow cove. It's also pretty sheltered out of the wind most of the time, which makes it, I think, a popular gathering place. But it can also get very, very crowded on certain weekends with a lot of boats. And it's deep in the middle, as you can see, that big purple area. So getting a good anchor hold in Party Cove can be a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to let Gary kind of walk you through his suggestions on that. And also just to mention the banks of the Party Cove are fairly rocky. So if you do end up getting too close or you drift into it because of the wind or your anchor is not holding, you can take on some damage to your prop and lower unit and whatnot. So Gary, if you want to give some suggestions there.
So in this case, like in Party Cove, you're not going to be able to anchor down right here. You're not going to have enough line. So what I usually will tell you is you find where the wind is blowing. So if the wind is blowing, say on the southern bank here, you might want to come over here, get up here where it's showing this 11 feet. Get up here around. So it's nice that you can also zoom in. It'll help you pinpoint these spots a little bit better. So you can come up here and get right on the edge of the green and the orange. Just, whoops, now it's going to ground us here. I touched it too hard. Stop. So this little area, like right here, right off the orange, that will allow you to drop an anchor. We're going to make sure it's nice and set before we tie it down, make sure it's holding us. Tie it down, and then just check for a few minutes. See how the wind is blowing you. If it's blowing you over here too far and you're at caution, then move over just a little bit more. We just want you out here in this safer water because of wind. This is a more steeper bank, as you can tell, because there's less orange, there's less red. So it does become an issue with maybe getting too close to shore. But if you move out here and you drop that anchor and you have about 30 foot off, you're going to be back about right in here. That allows the boat to stay in safe water. If the wind is blowing from the opposite direction or safe, you might want to come over here to this side or this edge, but that allows you to get even a little bit further offshore to give you that safeness. And of course, you always want to raise that engine up while you're there, just to be safe, so that engine stays up out of that shallower water while you're anchored. But right there's a good spot. You could drop your anchor right there, get it secured, tie it down, and hold your boat safely if you're not tying up to another member that's already anchored or something. But that allows you to anchor your boat safely without getting up here. We just want to make sure you're out here safe on the edge. That allows you to stay out of them rocks when you need to be having fun instead of worried about a boat.
Yeah, and then just one other tip that I have is when you're getting ready to leave, get your lily pad mats, your toys, everything loaded up, secure, ready to go. Everybody seated and everything before you start pulling up the anchor, because the last thing you want to do is start pulling up the anchor too soon. You're somebody's still trying to roll up a lily pad or something, and then a big gust of wind comes, and then you have no way to control the boat. So be patient, get all that stuff done first, and then work as a team to get the anchor in and the boat safely navigated away from shore. So those are just a couple quick tips on anchoring. And then Gary, you want to talk about your other tip about the hazards? Yeah.
So another thing nice about this app is, so on this lake, I'm going to try to bring us back to Four Corners area here. Zoom us out. So as Angie was talking about, back here at Hobson Pike Bridge that cut through where everybody likes to go through, and so it has buoys, but they're very hard to see. There's not as many as this app is showing you. So what I like to do to help you understand that you can stay out of these areas, because there's nothing basically showing you. So I like to come in here, and now I'm going to drop one of those pins or anything like that. So I can hit the question mark right here. I like to go in and hit my marker. Now it's going to allow me to pick a hazard or another kind of symbol here. I like hazard. So because it's going to be nice and bright and red, so it's like a stop sign for me. So then I'm going to hit save. Basically, that's going to drop that hazard. So now as you're navigating, you see that hazard symbol pop up in there. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and put 3, so I know I'm not going to go to that area, to avoid that area at all costs. Take the safe route, go around to the outside. So now I'm going to hit like rocks to let me know, hey, there's rocks over there, and I'll hit save again. And basically what that's going to do is when I zoom out, those symbols are still there, letting me know that, hey, this is a dangerous area. This is an area that you want to be safe or cautious. Don't go there unless I'm trying to do maybe some fishing, but you still may not want to be there. Other than that, I'm going to take the safe route around the purple and go all the way in the channel, all the way back to my safe spot, instead of taking the shortcut, risking a lower unit, a prop, or anything like that, because it is a shallow area and it causes a lot of damage. So I like to go in areas like that. I like to put those pins. Same way back here on the backside of Ponderosa Island. If you've been over to Percy Priest lately, you'll know there's actually a 35-foot houseboat sitting right there where that crosshairs is. So I like to just make sure we know that it's there. So I go in, tap that again, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to hit the wreck symbol, because there's a shipwreck there. That's the international symbol for shipwreck. So we're going to click that, and now that symbol is going to be there. And I like to go back in and put an extra one. So I just give myself fair warning not to go there. So not even risk it. It's safer for me to go around Ponderosa Island. If I want to go to Bait Sanders or Pools Knob, anything like that, this is going to allow me to have these markers there, and they're going to be here. So now I can see them. Even when I zoom out, they're going to show up and let me know, hey, this is a dangerous area. I need to be avoiding this area at all costs, because I want to have fun, not be worried about a prop or a lower unit. So any kind of area like that, I like to do that with, and I like to show the members as I train them, hey, even like right here off of Mousetail Island, this is a long rock gravel bar right there that you will not see when you're driving, and all of a sudden you can run across it. I like to even put a warning there. This allows you to use the advances to our app to allow you to stay safe out there. So now you got a marker there. As you go around and travel the lake, this will allow you to avoid areas, go around them without having to zoom. Oh, I can see it now because I zoomed in. You can leave things zoomed out so you can see more as you travel.
Yeah, so that's a great tip that I hadn't used before. So appreciate that. I'm checking here just to make sure we don't have any. Natalie has a comment about Party Cove. Just be vigilant about the boats around you. Absolutely. You don't want to be, mind your anchor and be running into other boats as well. So not just the shore you have to be worried about there, but other boats. So good comment there. So, all right, well, I'm going to stay in Navionics here for just another little bit, and I'm going to start keying in on some areas. The video that I shared earlier did key in on a few. I actually have some video as well that I can show you, and then we'll pull up Google Earth as well, so you can kind of see what it actually looks like. So, so we're back here in Four Corners. We're coming out of Four Corners Marina. Many of you have probably seen that little island just off to the left. It's like literally just a few clumps of treetops is usually all you can see. But in the wintertime, it's you'll be able to see it's actually a pretty good sized rock pile. And so that's been a common trouble area for people over the years. So that's just something to be aware of. I'll show you that on Google Earth. We mentioned Drummond Island and how far that point comes out that I had no idea until I saw the water was down a few years ago. And I know several people who have wrecked props coming in here too close to Drummond Island. So that's another popular area. Of course, we can't stress this area enough. I mean, honestly, people go over. I don't know why we can't stress it enough, but people go through there all the time, and then they're surprised when they wreck a prop. So just don't do it. I always say you're out there to enjoy boating, so why would you take a shortcut? Just enjoy your time, enjoy the scenery, take the channel around. So let's get into Google Earth here. Stop sharing. Switch over to Google Earth. So this just kind of gives you more of a real world view. So this was actually back in January 2020 when the water was low, and to use my screen here to navigate. So you can see that little clump of trees I was talking about just outside of Four Corners Marina, that normally all you see are the very tippy tops of the trees, but here you can see it's actually a very good sized rock pile. And we have had quite a bit of damage right there. So that's definitely an area to be aware of. And I think the water was probably down 5 to 7 feet when this image was taken at that time. So here's Drummond Island that we talked about several times now. So you can actually see from the satellite image the rocks that come out and how far they go out. And I actually have a video. See if it will let me share it with you real quick. This was actually taken the winter of January 2020. So here you go. This is Drummond Island just outside of Four Corners Marina. There is a huge line of rock that jets out from it. And you can see where they've got the channel markers way too close to that rock. It goes all the way out. Yeah, so there you go. Sorry about the wind noise, but hopefully you were able to get a good idea of what that looks like there. So let me go back to my Google Earth screen. All right. And then we didn't really talk about this yet, but if you're going around Pear Island up here, so you got the Hobson Pike Bridge right here, and you're following the channel around. If you don't go under the bridge, you want to go the other direction, like say toward Fate Sanders or Pools Knob. You're going to go by Long Hunter State Park, and there's a couple areas up that way I always like to point out to people. So right off Long Hunter State Park, this is the public fishing area. So if you go by there, you might see a lot of people out here fishing off the bank. There's this rock that juts out really far, and it's not marked whatsoever, and it can be super dangerous at summer pool when all you can see is just the tippy top of the rock. Sometimes you can't even see that, and if it's choppy out, it's hard to see. But this rock is massive, and lots of people have just run their boats right over it and hit it and done some major damage to their boats. So I have a video of that from that winter as well. You can, oh, actually, I missed the Hobson Pike cut through, but let's look at Long Hunter real quick. Out front of Long Hunter State Park, there's a huge rock that juts out. Sometimes you can even see part of it when the water's up. Other times it's just barely covered. It's a pretty dangerous area here. Even on the other side, there's a lot of shallow spots.
So it's always good to just stick to the channel. They have it marked pretty good through here.
All right, so let me go back to Google Earth real quick. So that area here was the sandbar that comes out on the other side. So you really want to pay attention, make sure that you're following that channel around. So I always like to take people up there and show them those couple of areas there. One area I kind of glossed over a little bit here was, so you got Pear Island. This is the one that you're going around to go under the bridge. There's a little island right here that is, again, during summer pool, it's just a clump of trees. But you can see from the satellite image how rocky it is all around that little tiny island. That it's a lot bigger than you would think it is. And I've got video from that as well. That one really surprised me because I had no idea it was that big.
This is a little island in between Pear and Mousetail Island. You're good to go around on the right side, but as you can see on the left side of that little island, there's a bunch of rocks in between it and Pear, and normally all that's showing of this island is the little trees.
All right, and then just one more area real quick here before we move on to Old Hickory Lake. Let me share my screen again, back to Google Earth. So again, that area we can't stress enough, the cut through to Hobson Pike Bridge. Doesn't look like a whole lot on this satellite image for some reason, but you do see some dry land there. But when I actually went out with my video camera to film that, you'll be able to see it a little better here.
This is where a lot of people like to cut through when you're either leaving or coming back to Four Corners Marina to go under the bridge. And this is why it's not a good idea to go through, because there's a huge rock and a couple of big humps that come up pretty shallow. And the better thing to do is just to go around this island over here called Pear Island.
All right, so we're going to go back to Navionics. Share that window with you again. Let me check for questions here. Some comments. All right. Yeah, we're good to move on to, if you want to navigate us over to Old Hickory. Gary's going to point out some areas on Old Hickory that we've known to cause some issues. And just one thing about Old Hickory, it doesn't fluctuate as much as Percy Priest does, because it does have like the barge traffic and stuff like that. So they have to keep it a certain depth. But you do want to monitor your TVA Lake Info app, because I have seen where it has been down a few feet, and you definitely want to keep an eye on that, because that is going to make a big difference as you're adjusting your Navionics app.
Especially over there. Most of the time, it's not going to drop much more than 2 feet, because it is navigable waters by the barges. So they keep a close eye on the depth over there. So you just want to be very cautious. The main thing about Old Hickory is, so here is Gallatin Marina. This is where one of our locations is at. It's a great place to visit and everything. And you have plenty of safe water all up through here. But as you can see, there is some few places that is shallow. Sorry about that. There's some shallow areas. But when you're wanting to go out and travel and see more of the lake instead of staying in the Station Camp Creek area here, east or west fork, you do have a nice channel to go out. It's nice and deep. It turns purple. And you can see as it runs in here, it runs right along the main, this little bank. It's that bank right there. And then it comes out, and it's nice and deep, but it is narrow. It's a narrow channel, but they do have nice markers that aren't on our app for some reason, but they are there to let you come out. You just got to be very cautious as you're coming out, because as you can see, all this red all down along the edge of the purple. And when you get there, you will see that there's all kinds of trees. And these are not just stumps sticking up. These are full-grown trees sticking out of the water. That's all along this edge. If you're not very careful and you get out of the channel just a little bit, you get in them mud flats where all them stumps are. And as you come in across the lake, this is a very popular creek over here. This is Spencer Creek. A lot of people like to use Spencer Creek because there is a lot of safe water over here. So you got a lot of water for your tubing, your knee boarding, skiing, or anything like that. But it has a very narrow channel right here as you come in. And the buoy markers are set right on the very edges. So like right here would be a buoy marker, and then your other buoy marker is right here. So it's very narrow. It's very shallow compared to the other creek as you're coming in. So you just want to be very cautious as you're going in there. Make sure you stay in that channel marker because they are very narrow until you get back in here. And usually it's about right in here. Usually I'll say when you see this last houseboat, or not houseboat, this last dock right here, it's opened up, it's safe. So now you can go out further into the lake over here in Spencer Creek and enjoy yourself. But if you wanted to go all the way down to our next location, you'd want to make sure you stay in them inside the buoys and stay inside that purple. Don't try to attempt to go over in a secondary channel. Stay out here in this nice purple as you come down, because there's going to be all this shallow area the whole way down. So you want to be very cautious because you'll see all the trees, all the sticks, everything out through there that is very dangerous until you get down here to the mouth of Cedar Creek, which allows you to come in here and travel in here nice and easy, and you'll have nice and green water. What you'll want to watch for is this point right here, right before you get to our marina, because they do have the yacht club back there we just passed. But we are over here in Cedar Creek Marina, over here in this corner. So as you travel there, you just want to watch out that you do stay in those channel areas and the deeper water, because that is very cautious. It is very dangerous out there. So you want to just watch that you're being very mindful. Old Hickory is very shallow unless you're in the channels.
Yeah, and also just especially this time of year, but year round really, but just be mindful of all the floaters and logs and things like that. That can be sometimes hard to see, especially on overcast, windy days. So just be vigilant, have somebody with you as a spotter to help you keep an eye out for that stuff. We had a request to see where that sunk houseboat is again on Percy Priest. So I'm going to zoom back over to Percy Priest here. As you can see, we made that caution marker. So that should make it really easy for us to find it. So where we're at here is you come out of Four Corners Marina right here. And if you're coming up, there's a cut through here that we do not recommend you take if you're wanting to get to the other side of the lake, like Fate Sanders or Pools Knob. Some people do go through this cut through. I can tell you, so I've wrecked 3 props since 2015 on Percy Priest Lake. One was when I very first got out there, and I don't remember where it was because I was so brand new. I just don't even know. But I'll tell you, the one was that spot we pointed out at Nashville Shores. So that got me. And the other one was right here where Gary pointed out, don't cut through there. But this here is where he's marked that wrecked. That's where that house. Oh, I just did what Gary did. How'd you get out of that? There. Okay. So yeah, so that's there in that cut through. I believe it's still there.
It is still there. It's a 35-foot Gibson, and you can barely see it. I didn't share this picture, so you're not going to be able to see it on my phone very well.
Let me see. I can make you bigger here.
So that's what's sticking out of the water currently right now at that location. During the winter, it was completely out of the water, set on the ground. I was hoping what would happen was they ran aground, and it just ran aground and they'd be able to salvage it. But it is not salvageable. It is sunk. It is sitting there. And right now, if you go up to it, you're risking yourself of hitting that big rock pile that's there that it's sitting on. But somebody has also tied a mannequin to it. So there's a mannequin floating in the water that has give a few people the scare, and they've called in the rescue resources and came out and inspected it, and it scared a few people, put it that way.
Yeah. Any thoughts of adding a second anchor to help us stay in place during busy days? Um, we have talked about that. It's probably more of a thing on Old Hickory with the stronger current, but you're welcome to carry along a little extra anchor if you want to. Um, that's just something that we can definitely mention again. It does get dangerous if you're anchoring from the bow and the stern. That could put you in a potentially dangerous situation. So we do want to avoid that. But yeah, so let's see. Have anything we missed here? Think we got everything. Guys, if something didn't come through to our feed, we're going to go back and check all the different feeds that we were streaming to just to make sure that we didn't miss any questions. And you can find out more about Freedom Boat Club on our website, freedomboatclubtn.com. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me, angie.scott@freedomboatclub.com. If you see Captain Gary on the docks, he's going to be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And again, this was recorded, so feel free to go back and rewatch, pause it, get everything set up. Again, if you have any questions, just let us know and we'll be happy to help. Sherry is asking about the deep water training. So Sherry, I think what you mean is the offshore training. So yeah, you're correct. We can't do offshore training here in Tennessee, but we have a plethora of locations on the coast that are more than capable of doing the offshore training. So what you would want to do if you have a trip coming up to one of those locations, just reach out to them and get that scheduled with one of their captains. And they'll help you get that certification taken care of. Since we can't do it in Tennessee, there is a bit of a fee for that, but it's marginal. And once you have it, then you'll be good to go. Okay, Tim, good question. What route do you suggest if you're going to Pool Knob from Four Corners? One thing you can certainly do is use that route feature on Navionics. So it will, the way that we have it set up, it will probably route you through the channel. So if anybody wants to stay on and watch this, I'm just going to do it as a test here. So let me share my Navionics screen again. I'll let Gary set that up since he did the last one so quickly and proficiently.
All right. So what we're going to do is down at the bottom, again, at those three buttons, we're just going to hit route. And with that, you just hit automatic. And we're going to choose, since we're in Nashville, I can't choose Four Corners today. So I'm going to just go in here and pick Four Corners. So you go in there, click on that. You're going to pick Four Corners Marina. And now we're going to choose our destination right below that. We're going to click on that. Now we're going to come in here and just look up for Pools Knob, or you can type it in. So right there, since we was talking, our phone heard us. So we can just click on Pools Knob. There, it's automatically showing you the route it's going to take, and it's showing you green. It's going to keep you in safe water. So we're just going to hit go. And that's going to bring it down here where you can see it again. And now I'll zoom in for you and see how it's keeping you in nice straight in the deep water. It's going to take you in between mouse tail, and there it's actually working again. So see how it's super fast going through there. Yeah. It's basically showing you the route that it recommends. And now it stopped me at that point, but it would take you through the little cut through right there at the end of Mouse Tail and Long Hunter. It's going to take you around Long Hunter and take you past the three shallow islands on the back side of Ponderosa Island there. And it's just going to keep you right in the channel until you're right over there in Pools Knob recreational area around Hong Kong Island.
And I'll say that is the exact way I go every single time.
Yeah.
So
with that, it just depends on where you hit on Pools Knob. If you hit Pools Knob recreational area or you hit Pools Knob boat ramp, it will carry you all the way over here, and it'll take you the safe route all the way around. When you set that 10-foot draft, it's going to keep you in that safe water to keep you out of them dangerous areas. It's going to avoid those cut throughs, like if you was going through the route. It's going to avoid you to keep you from going there. And I can tell you that's not safe cutting through there. I fished that spot a lot, and it's only 5 foot deep right here during the summer pool. So I never go across there, and there's an old rock fence through that area that comes out a little ways that you won't realize until you've fished it a few times.
I always say a general rule of thumb: when you see two islands close together, don't go between them. It's probably going to be pretty.
And once
shallow.
you've got there, you're welcome to hit that route button again, and then hit that stop so it's gone. And then while you do that, if you hit that start button at the same time, while you drive that, it's going to leave your yellow line as you go to. So you have your yellow line to follow back to your location, so you don't have to type back in the route for yourself. You'll have your yellow line there to follow back from, just like any other time you're just traveling on the lake. We tell you to hit that start button. You can find your way back. That'll allow you to find your way back without going back into your route. You can just follow your yellow line all the way back. It'll be there.
Awesome. Well, we're just 5 minutes over time, so we did pretty good. So thank you everybody for joining us, and hopefully you found some value in this, and some ideas on how to stay safer this season. And members, we look forward to seeing you guys on the docks.
Of course, always at the docks.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.